I know you can do it. All right, we're back. It's Friday, September 26th, a little after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And for the first time in a long time, joining me on the Golden View podcast is going to be Steve Ewen from Postmedia in the Vancouver province, because it is the second game tonight in a long WHL season for the Vancouver Giants at the Langley Event Center against, I was just reading Steve's article in the province, a depleted Victoria Royals team who have lost a number of their key players to the NCAA hockey ranks. So we're not going to start with that. We're going to start with the Vancouver Giants, because lots of interesting news dropping there too this week, Steve, obviously, right? Let's dive into a couple of those.
Let's go.
Burke Hood returns from his training camp stint with the New York Islanders after being drafted by the New York Islanders. We're going to dive into a little bit, as we did last year, about Burke's play with the Vancouver Giants as their number one goalie. Looking like, if you can let us know, that's going to be the same case now this year.
I assume he's going to get 40, 50 plus games this year. I think the big challenge is going to be that they've got 9 3-3s. So that,
Okay.
9 weekends where they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 9, 8, 9.
Yeah, I didn't
Either
look that
way,
closely at that
it's a
part.
lot. It's
Right,
a lot
okay.
of 3-3s.
Okay.
And it's hard for a guy to play all 3 games in a weekend. So that's going to be a challenge for him.
And they just released, I was just looking at it, Ryan
Tamlin, 6'8", Ryan Tamlin.
Right. Okay. So Tamlin's out. Obviously, I got my Elite Prospects membership, so I was looking at some stuff about the lineup. Another goaltender from the U.S., Owen Lunenborg, who I don't know anything about, but obviously now that Tamlin is gone, it's Hood and Lunenborg. What do you know about Owen? Because I haven't had a chance to really dig into what's going to happen with him this season.
He was one of the first guys that under this new regime signed.
Okay.
I know they're excited about what he can do. He's going to get a chance. He's going to have to play some important games on those weekends. So we'll see what he can do. He had he had a rough start to his first training camp game, but he seems to be trending in the right directions and getting more accustomed to what's going on here. So it's he's going to get a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously we've talked a lot about the last couple of years, what's happened with the Giants goaltending situation and what the evolution means of the goaltending for a guy like Burke Hood, right? From where he started a couple of years ago to last year, all the episodes are on the podcast, to obviously what is expected of Burke this year, even though he returned from the NHL after starting training camp. And I don't know if we're going to dive too much into it. Yeah, you mentioned the new regime change, and I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Nat Dominicelli is now the general manager, the Giants parting company with Barclay Parnetta, obviously in the offseason, and a different head coach as well.
Parker Burgess is the head coach, a guy from the USHL. So interesting that the coach and the GM didn't really have a connection prior to coming to Vancouver. So that's always a challenge.
Right.
We'll see how quickly they create some sort of chemistry amongst their kind of the brain trust of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I was looking at some more stuff on Elite Prospects, and I was reading Cam Robinson's article. Obviously, that came into my inbox this morning, and I was glad to get that, because obviously the Cam's got his preliminary 2026 NHL draft scout poll with Ryan Lynn, last year's rookie for the Giants on defense, ranking number 4. So I want to hear a little bit more from you on Ryan Lynn's status, because that's a pretty impressive draft ranking, right? Like, based on Elite Prospects, to be at number 4.
Yeah, I mean the earliest the Vancouver Giant has ever been drafted is in fact number 4 with Evander Kane in I think 2009, and then Bowen Byram again in 2019. So for him to be in that sort of class right now, I think says something. I think he had maybe as good a 16-year-old season as we've seen in recent memory, at least going back to Byram. So he's a high-end guy. They don't publish ice time stats, but I think he actually led the Giants in ice time last year. So, which you don't see from a 16-year-old. So he's
we knew,
a special talent. He thinks the game much better than 18 and 19-year-olds. So I think he's gonna play in all situations. He's gonna play the most minutes on the team. He is he's a bona fide. You see him now for junior money, or you'll be seeing him for NHL money in a year or two.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's funny you bring up Kane and you bring up Bowen Byram because obviously Evander Kane. This is not a Canucks episode, but Evander Kane obviously back in Vancouver this year, signing with the Canucks that 1-year deal, so for $5 million. But obviously, another thing that's come up when you mentioned Evander Kane as well is the 25th anniversary season of the Giants too, right? So that means wrecking a lot of the Giants' top prospects and players. I looked at a couple shots of the 25th anniversary jerseys, which I thought looked pretty good. And so I don't know what you know about what's going to be done throughout the season to kind of present stuff at the LEC, recognizing some of the players, obviously in the team's first 25 years. And for me, it's Kane, it's Byron, but I also immediately think of a guy like Brendan Gallagher, right? And the kind of career that he's had, with the Montreal Canadiens. But let's keep working on this roster because I've been cruising through it. Obviously recognizing a lot of names, right? Cameron Schmidt is back. We could talk a little bit more. You can share now about Cameron obviously being drafted by the Dallas Stars. What's going to happen with Cameron Schmidt this season?
I think he's going to have an amazing year. I think he's come in with a good mindset. He's talked a lot about leadership and wanting to really show the younger guys. I think he went a little bit later in the draft in the third round when some people had him as a first rounder. Seems to have that, it seems to be in a good space about that. Likes Dallas. Dallas is a team that's really promoted smaller players or smaller skilled guys, which is what that's Cameron's MO. So I think he's in a really good headspace. I think he's gonna get 40. Can he get 50 or 60? I think that's the question.
Yeah, and obviously we covered Ryan Lynn on defense. Trying to think of anybody else here that I recognize name-wise from last year besides Lynn, maybe Middlestad, and that's about it. What does this defense core look like this season, given what's out there besides Ryan Lynn?
It's taken a bit of a hit. I mean, it's taken a hit. Madison Leslie said that he wasn't going to come back and he wanted to go to school. They, in fact, traded his rights to Kelowna, and he's decided to play there with them hosting a Mem Cup. Colton Roberts, similar, went to Colorado College. Those are the two big college losses for Vancouver. Those would be, two of their top three defensemen with Ryan Lynn. So that's a hole. I think they're excited about Middlestad. I think there's some other interesting guys in the back. Merrick Howe he has got all the tools. He hasn't shown it yet, but there are people that think he could be a top pairing guy in this league. So he has those type of tools. I think it's about whether he shows it. Jan Scott, the Euro, looks like a big, strong, stay-at-home left shot defenseman, a guy that could play the last minute with a lead with Ryan Lynn. So, well, we're gonna see what they've got. I mean, I think when you've got arguably the best player in the division in Ryan Lynn, that's a pretty good start.
Yeah, because we talked a lot about this last year too, right? I sent you those texts in August about that massive training camp roster. So now we've seen it, trimmed down to the way the season starts, right? And one of the things I found interesting is just looking for familiar names for me, having really not followed the preseason that closely, but following on social media and sort of dipping in and out, seeing what's available. On defense, and then up front, obviously some recognizable names, Ty Haliburton, Aaron Obafayo, Cameron Schmidt, Tyus Sparks, Adam Tillback. But one of Nat Dominicelli's sons, Leonardo Dominicelli, obviously on this forward roster. What do you know about him?
He in fact was on a listed player by the Giants prior to them hiring Nat. So it's not a situation where Nat brought his son. I think, in fact, the son maybe brought the dad on some level when they were looking for a GM.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
I think he's going to be a middle six guy. I think he's going to be an energy guy, older guy, 19.
Yeah.
As you know, played at a higher level. You know, played against some older guys in Switzerland growing up. So hard to tell how that's gonna how long it'll take him to get used to the style here. So that's his biggest challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it's only the first game of the season. I got the impression from listening to Rick and Ryan today on Donnie and Dolly that Dominicelli wasn't impressed with that effort the other night. I just read the
No.
box score, read the press release. I mean, to lose 5-1 at home, obviously to the Penticton V's moving up from the BCHL and expansion team,
Mhm.
but whether that's relevant, right? But now you're into a big back-to-back at home for the first of and the second of 8 against Victoria. But let's talk a little bit about Victoria because I was scanning through your article about what's happened with Victoria and their loss of players and how you had said that they could have been one of the picks in the Western Division, if not the entire
Yeah.
WHL, like to win the WHL or make it to the Memorial Cup, right?
No, they had Cole Reshny was I think 18th overall at Calgary. Keaton Verhoff is supposed to be a top 5
Yeah, right.
pick in this year's draft. They had all sorts of talent. I think they lost their top 5 or 6 returning scorers. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a challenge. They lost a goalie as well. So I don't. I think everyone saw that Gavin McKenna was going to leave Medicine Hat. I don't know if everyone had it in their mind that this other group of guys was going to go. So I think that obviously took some uh, adjustment for the guys running the Royals.
yeah. And you'll remember better than me. How far did Victoria advance last year in the WHL playoffs? Was it third round or second round?
Second,
Second?
I don't. Yeah, second or yeah. They won at
They
least a
went
round.
pretty
Yeah,
far. I mean, there
yeah,
was expectations, right? And then obviously, I saw that opening round playoff series the Giants played, and then look at how far. Sorry, who was the team they played in the opening round
E-
last year?
Everett.
Right? Was it Everett or Portland?
No,
Everett,
Spokane. Spokane.
Spokane. Thank you. Right, because
My all my
I mean, the
years
Chiefs.
are all my years are coming together now.
Well, I mean, the Spokane Chiefs made it all the way to the Memorial Cup,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
um, yeah. But let's talk about a couple more things here before we wrap it up. Because what do you feel about this team this season? Because we talked a lot last year about that consistency and the up
Mhm.
and down play and some of that potential being there, but never realizing or lacking consistency. Is that going to be a
Yeah,
theme this year?
I think that was something we saw last week. I think we saw them come out strong, not score, and then kind of panic and become very in in individualistic. And that's obviously a problem they had last year.
Right.
And you that's something they're going to have to work through. I think they can't lose their team game when things don't go their way. I think the really good teams always stay on the same page.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see. There, Cameron Schmidt's a year older, Ryan Lynn's a year older. Your best guys have got more experience. I think there's a lot of pieces there. I think the idea that you're going to rebuild your front, like your front end with your coach and your GM, and it's going to take a while to get everybody on the same page. I how d- does it happen in a good enough time that where do you sit? I think that's the real question for me.
Because yeah, looking down at the WHL's Western Division, uh, what are your thoughts on that Western Division? Who is the
The Western
um,
the Western Conference, I think there's some. I, I I think Vancouver has the talent to finish top 4 in the Western Conference. It's going to be about whether
hmm.
they execute. I think.
Yeah, and that was a
Um,
theme last year, right?
I mean, Kelowna's going to be good. Yeah, I mean, Kelowna will be good. I think. Um, you know, uh, Spokane, I think will be good if they get Berkeley Catton back. I mean,
Oh,
they'll be
Catton,
a
yeah,
kind of a friendly team. Portland's always good.
yeah,
Everett's always good. So but Vancouver's got that chance to at least finish in a spot where they're hosting the first round.
Yeah, that would
I
be
mean,
nice. Yeah, that'd be nice.
there's
I mean,
people that there's people that think they could beat Kelowna for BC. I mean, Kelowna's obviously got a real, a lot of skin in the game, in terms of hosting the Mem Cup. They're going to
yeah,
load up.
yeah,
I don't know. I without knowing the way this brain trust thinks, I don't know if this Vancouver team's gonna load up. I do think with the way the NCAA things are going, I think it would be smart that your windows to compete in the WHL now are way more inconsistent or hard to gauge.
yeah.
Without knowing guys are going to leave early. So I'd like to think if you have a decent team, you have to be all in. So, but I don't know that without having a real feel for the way they're going to run the team this year.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because I didn't realize until I read some of your stuff, and I've been keeping up with the WHL a little bit now. Obviously, it's going to be heavier with the season starting, but that thing in Victoria with all those players moving to the NCAA, and then the quote from their GM, it basically said, "Well, there's nothing we can really do about it." It does change the
There,
dynamic of it, right? I mean,
I think it changes your windows to compete. I think it changes the way you build your team. I think it changes the expectation of your core group. I
mm,
think 20-year-olds aren't 20-year-olds aren't going to be as essential as maybe they've been in the past. Because I just think
okay,
there's going to be fewer of them. I think you're going to see 20-year-olds playing, striving to be
right,
NCAA players. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for doing this. Let's wrap it up there. I know we're going to check in with you again as the season progresses,
sounds
and
good.
what I wasn't able to make it to last weekend's game and make a plan to be out there in the next couple of weeks because
Okay,
I got to get out there and see what's happening. But thank you
we'll
again
figure
for
it out.
doing this, and we'll talk
Hey,
to you
thanks
again
so
soon.
much. Okay, talk to
Yeah.
you soon. Thank you.
Okay.